you're wondering who that woman is in that picture, it's supposed to be me. I just haven't looked like that in a long time.
Okay. All right. How about now? Is it still showing me when I'm talking?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yep, I only see you or
Okay.
whoever's talking.
Okay, great. All right, everybody. Bounce Back Live November of this year is on mindfulness. As a reminder, oh, that doesn't work. There. As a reminder, the Bounce Back Project kind of came out of a collaboration of several community organizations. I've listed them at the bottom here. Nancy and I attended a training at the beginning of 2020. This train the trainer for the Bounce Back Project, and decided that we would bring it to dentistry, and this was the perfect year to do that. The first thing I think about with mindfulness is like the difference between your mind being full and being mindful. So in this picture, we have a dog and a person. The person and the dog are experiencing the same thing. They're walking through the park, and the person's mind is full of all of the things that are outside of the experience. They're thinking about the bills and the car and all this other stuff. And the dog is just like living in the experience, seeing the trees on the ground, seeing the sun in the sky. And that's what we're trying to do when we practice mindfulness, is like just being in that moment and observing what is actually happening. I wanted to start by defining what mindfulness is. These are definitions as defined by the DBT Skills Handbook. Mindfulness is intentionally living with awareness at the present moment without judging or rejecting anything that's happening. So that isn't to say that we don't recognize when things are helpful or harmful. We notice those consequences, but doing so without judgment or rejecting the current moment. We also just observe without attachment to the moment. So experiencing it without ignoring the present by clinging to the past or grabbing onto the future. Being mindful and being in the moment is just experiencing what is, and not looking forward to what might happen, and not looking back to what has happened or what could have happened, should have, could have, would have. Mindfulness, so that's what mindfulness is, or defined. Mindfulness skills are specific behaviors that when we practice it, helps to cultivate mindfulness, or helps to make up mindfulness. Mindfulness practice can be practiced anytime, anywhere, while doing anything. It's really just like putting yourself into the present moment. So you can do that at any time while you're doing anything. And it's to reiterate, it's just paying attention to the moment without judging it or holding on to it. Examples of mindfulness practice include meditation. We've talked a little bit about that last month. Also contemplative prayer, like praying the Jewish Shema, or doing Islamic Sufi practice, reciting the Christian Rosary, Hindu Raja Yoga, etc. Those are all examples of contemplative prayer or spiritual mindfulness practice. There's also mindfulness movement, and we also talked about this last week too a little bit. Examples of mindfulness movement include yoga and martial arts, including Qigong and Tai Chi, Aikido and Karate. There's also spiritual dancing. And other examples of mindfulness movement might include walking or hiking, horseback riding, any sort of like repetitive body movement can be used as mindfulness practice. We talked a lot about Qigong and Tai Chi last month. That's an example of mindfulness movement, mindfulness practice in the form of movement. In other words, mindfulness is just focusing on one thing at a time, being in the moment, being aware of your emotions and acknowledging that they are fleeting. They don't last forever. They do not define you. This insight that your feelings don't define you can free you from negative thought patterns. Staying present in the moment, be here now. That's all mindfulness. The goals of mindfulness practice are to reduce suffering, increase happiness. It reduces pain, tension, stress. Another goal for mindfulness practice is to increase control of your mind. So, stopping the mind from controlling you. If we are mindful and like just observing without judgment whatever is happening, then we aren't subject to believe all the things that are coming in. We also, another goal with mindfulness practice is to just experience the reality as is. So living life with eyes open, being aware, experiencing the reality of the connection of the universe, being connected to your like essential goodness and your essential validity. Being mindful and experiencing the moment as is helps us cultivate these things. The other, maybe the main reason we do this is because being mindful and cultivating mindfulness leads to increased happiness. And it specifically acts on this like set level of happiness. So, life goes like this, there's good stuff that happens and bad stuff that happens. And we never get out of that. Like that always happens with life. But, there's this set level of happiness that we have access to as like humans. And so practicing mindfulness with time can increase it can raise the set level of happiness that we have access to. So we're still going through life and bad things and good things are continuing to happen to us, but the set level of happiness is raised a bit. People who practice mindfulness can raise their set level of happiness. This is like my favorite mindfulness DBT skill, and it is based on, or it refers to finding the wise mind. So yeah, one of the core mindfulness skills in DBT therapy is identifying the wise mind. I'm going to talk through this graphic a bit. We have on the left-hand side, the reasonable mind, and on the right-hand side, emotion mind. These live within us, all of us. The reasonable mind is like the cool, rational, task-focused mind, and the emotion mind is hot, mood-dependent, and emotion-focused. When you're acting from reasonable mind, you're ruled by facts, reason, logic, pragmatics. The values and feelings are not as important. This is reasonable mind. Over here we have emotion mind. When you're in emotion mind, you're ruled by your moods, feelings, and urges to do or say things. Facts, reasons, and logic are not important. So two different things, reasonable mind and emotion mind, neither of which is the wise mind. So in the middle, we have the wise mind, and that's the wisdom within each person. When you're in wise mind, you can see the value of both reason mind and emotion mind, and then you like bring them together to bridge in between. So you're using both. You're not subject to just your emotions, and you're not like cool, unemotional, rational either 100%. You're in wise mind. It's the middle path. And I'm going to teach you a couple of ways to access wise mind now. This is an idea. These are a couple of, I'm going to go through a couple of ideas of ways to access wise mind. So, I mean, if you practice it, you can get into, like, you can click into it really easily, or you can recognize, like, oh, I'm in logic mind right now, or like, oh, I'm in emotion mind right now, I want to get to wise. But here are some like tangible ways that to like try to encourage how to get into that mindset of wise mind. The first one is walking down the spiral stairs within. And so if it feels good to you, just like close your eyes for a second and try to imagine as I'm saying this. Imagine that within you is a spiral staircase winding down to your very center. Starting at the top, walk very slowly down the staircase, going deeper and deeper within yourself. Notice the sensations. Rest by sitting on a step, or turn on lights on the way down if you wish. Do not force yourself further than you want to go. Notice the quiet. As you reach the center of yourself, settle your attention there, perhaps in your gut or your abdomen. That was just like super, super quick, but this is a visual that you may find is helpful. It's encouraging you to like go inside to feel, you know, what you're feeling, and also to check in with yourself on the way down, like, okay, self, I'm going to go down the spiral staircase. And then, you know, as you're going down, you're like checking in with self, like, is it cool if I go down a little further? Or like, where should I stop? Where's the information? This is a way to get into that wise mind. So if you find yourself in either sphere, if you find yourself in logic mind and you're like, oh, I'm cold and detached right now, I'm task managing, or if you find yourself in emotion mind and you feel like, oh, I can't get out of my emotional feelings about this, this is a way to access that wise mind by going within, down the spiral staircases, or down the spiral staircase. This is another way to access wise mind, and it's a simple breathing exercise. So you breathe in the word wise and breathe out the word mind. So like, wise mind, wise mind. Breathe in, say to yourself wise. Breathe out, say to yourself mind. And when you should focus your entire attention on the word wise when you inhale, and then focus it again entirely on the word mind when you exhale. So like, wise mind. And then you just continue breathing like that until you feel like you've like accessed the wise mind. Okay, I'm going to talk through the pillars of mindfulness according to DBT therapy. The pillars are observe, describe, participate. So like, first we observe with our senses, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, touch. Then we describe, because you can't describe something without observing it, right? So you observe with the senses, describe, and then we can participate in the moment. So this is mindfulness training because we're getting into the moment. If you observe what is happening, you're present. If you describe what is happening, you're present. And then then we can participate in that present moment. So I'm going to talk through observation first. In observation mode, we notice the body senses notice the body sensations through the senses, paying attention on purpose to the present moment. Control your attention, but not what you see. Push away nothing. Cling to nothing. So whatever is there, I'm not pushing it away. Whatever is there, I'm not trying to hang on to it. Practice wordless watching. Watch the thoughts come into your mind and let them slip away, just like clouds in the sky. Like, oh, I'm observing that. Notice each feeling rising and falling like waves in the ocean. Observe both what is happening here inside and what is happening outside. So this is all observation mode, noticing through the senses. I'm seeing things, hearing things, I might taste things, smell things, feeling things. I'm observing what's happening inside me, and I'm observing what's happening in my environment. Observation. The next step is to describe what I'm seeing. So putting words to the experience. When a feeling or thought arises, or you do something, you take an action, just acknowledge it. For example, say in your mind, sadness has just enveloped me, or my stomach muscles are tightening, or a thought, I can't do this, has come into my mind. So I'm not judging. I'm not like getting on myself about like, oh, I just had a thought about I can't do this. Like I'm just noticing like, oh, I just had a thought. I just had I'm having sadness right now. I'm having anxiety right now. Label what you observe. Put name to the feeling. Label a thought as just a thought, a feeling just a feeling, an action just an action. There's no judgments. And unglue your interpretations and opinions from the facts. Describe who, what, where, when, just as an observer, just the facts. Remember, if you can't observe it through your senses, you can't describe it. So we're in the second pillar. We observe, describe, and participate. The last step is to participate. So once I've observed and described what's happening, I can participate in the present moment. Throw yourself completely into activities of the current moment. Don't separate yourself from what's going on. So dancing, cleaning, talking to a friend, being happy, being sad. I'm throwing myself completely into that experience to feel it and participate. We're in participation right now. Observe, describe, participate. Become one with whatever you're doing, completely forgetting yourself. Throw your attention into the moment. Act intuitively from wise mind. Just do whatever's needed in each situation. So like a skillful dancer, just like a skillful dancer out on the dance floor is making intuitive movements as they're working with their partner. This is just how you're doing right when you're when you're being mindful, observing, describing, and participate. I'm just throwing myself into the situation. Now that I have observed and described what's happening, I can be there. Go with the flow, respond with spontaneity. Another helpful framework for observation mode, or like identifying observation mode, is to notice the difference between the storyteller and the observer. So the storyteller is like a little bit dramatic, tends to blow things out of proportion, might concentrate on the negative stuff or jump to a conclusion. The storyteller tends to take things personally, or might like this is all about me. The storyteller is also the ego voice. The observer just observes the world and reacts without bias. The observer realistically reflects on the situation. Like, I'm just reflecting, no more, no less, just observing. And might ask for clarification instead of like taking things, personally or jumping to a conclusion. The observer might ask for clarification before doing that. And again, it's about fact building. Like, okay, what do I actually know about this situation right now? I'm not going to make up a big story about what it is, but I'm just going to tangibly look at like what's actually happening. So that's storyteller versus observer. The good news is thoughts are only one part of you. So you get to reflect on whether these thoughts are serving you and helping you live your best life. Mindfulness is about focusing on the concrete information that we have, not getting wrapped up in the interpretation. So that's the main thing, is like observing without judgment and focusing on the facts, like what is actually true. and using and accessing wise mind, because we've got rational mind and emotion mind, and then like the blending of the two are where wise mind meets. So mindfulness is about focusing on what am I observing in myself and environment so that I can actually know what is happening in real, concrete, informational terms. And let me move this so you can see my picture here. Don't be a Judge Judy to yourself or to other people. The biggest thing about, mindfulness, I think, is like, at least for me, is like not being judgmental. So I'm observing without judgment. I want to see the things, but I'm not necessarily evaluating good or bad. If you remember at the beginning of the talk, we were saying, though, that there is a difference between noticing when something is helpful and harmful. So I can notice that something is helpful or harmful, but I'm not labeling myself as like good or bad. I'm not labeling the person as like good or bad. I'm not judging myself or the person. I'm looking at behaviors and seeing as is, but I'm sticking to facts. Accept each moment like a blanket spread out on the lawn, accepting both the sun and the rain, each leaf that falls upon it. Acknowledge the difference between the helpful and the harmful, the safe and the dangerous, but don't judge them. Acknowledge your values, your wishes, your emotional reactions, but don't judge them. I'm going to read that one more time. So I'm acknowledging my values. I'm acknowledging my wishes, what I want. I'm acknowledging my emotional reactions. Saying like, oh, I am feeling anxious right now. I am feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. I'm not pushing anything away. I'm observing it. I'm not denying these things exist. I'm observing them, but I'm not judging them. And you will find yourself judging yourself. Like I'm saying right now, don't be a Judge Judy, but like you will judge yourself. And then it's important to not judge your judging. So that will happen. Let's see. This is a quote from Kung Fu Panda. Once I realized the problem was not you, but within me, I found inner peace and was able to harness the flow of the universe. And then there was one more skill thing I wanted to share. This is another practice. This is called the Thoughts Are Not Facts practice. This is from mindful.org. When you put some space between you and your reaction, it changes your relationship to your thoughts. You can watch them come and go instead of treating them as matter of fact. If you're stuck on a negative thought, ask yourself, there's 4 steps here. We'll talk through each 4, but first, is it true? Is it absolutely true? How does this make me feel? And what would it be like if I didn't hold on to this belief? So let's go through that again. Is it true? Often the answer that you'll first come up with is, well, yes, this is the brain initially reacting. The autopilot you live with and believe is you. So the first thing you'll probably hear is like, this is, again, thoughts are not facts practice. So the first thing I'm asking myself is this true? And I'll usually hear my automatic brain say, yes, it's true. But then the second step to this process is to ask, is it absolutely true? Is this thought 100% accurate? Can you see the thought in a different way? Even if you can like slightly change it just a little bit. How does this thought make me feel? Notice any storylines you're holding on to and name your feelings: sad, angry, jealous, hurt. How does it make me feel? How does this thought make me feel? So is it true? Is it absolutely true? How does it make me feel? And then what would it be like if I didn't hold on to this belief? Imagine possible benefits to your relationships, your energy levels, and motivation if you didn't hang on to that belief. And that was it. I'm going to stop sharing for a second so that I can stop our recording. And then I want to talk if anybody wants to talk. Let me see.